Welcome to the Divine Lifestyles Podcast. I'm your host, Tara Magalski. Together with my guest experts, I cover topics ranging from cutting-edge healing modalities to hormonal harmony, to nutrition and plant medicine, to mindfulness and spirituality. My goal is to educate and inspire so you can create your own divine lifestyle. It's time to dive inward, rewire your brain, and heal from the inside out. Hey, beautiful soul fam. Please join Divine Lifestyles for a transformative and empowering women's healing retreat, October 16th through 22nd in Mexico. It's going to be a 6-night, 7-day experience that is designed to uplift your spirit, help you transcend trauma, and lead you towards a life of a renewed freedom and empowerment. Nestled in a serene and tranquil oasis, this amazing property in Cien Can provides the perfect sanctuary for you to nurture your body and embark on a journey of self-discovery, renewal, and of course, rejuvenation. Learn more at divinelifestyles.com/transcendence. Welcome to the Divine Lifestyles Podcast. I am your host, Tara Magalski, and today's guest is Donna Bond, a soul-centered catalyst for personal transformation. She believes when we do the work individually to trust our higher self and love our human self, the ripple effect changes the world. Donna holds a master's degree in spiritual psychology with an emphasis on consciousness, health, and healing from the University of Santa Monica. And she is, I believe, tuning in from Costa Rica right now, right?
Yes. Hello. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
having me, Tara.
Yes, thank you
Glad to
so
be
much.
here.
Thank you so much for being here. So tell me, where are you located right now in Costa Rica?
Well, I'm on the South Pacific, overlooking the beautiful Pacific Ocean on one side of me, with the rainforest jungle on the other side of me. And it's epically beautiful and magical and filled with wonder and inspiration and all of it. Yeah, it's the universe arranged for me to be here. So it was a walk into the divine unknowing. And it was, I've been here now for a year and a half. We were given 2.5 acres of land, and then we inherited money to build a house here. And the universe just kept moving obstacles out of the way because it wanted me here.
That's
I
amazing.
am very much a California girl all day long. I like high heel shoes and Louis Vuitton bags, and I'm skating around in my bare feet with, high humidity, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
So now we need to know, how did you end up in Costa Rica? How did you just get gifted? Just explain that story for us?
Yeah, well, my mother bought land 15 years ago, a little bit longer than that, after the 2008 market crash. She didn't think that she had enough money to retire in America. So she was totally focused on becoming an expat. And she had one foot out the door. My sisters and I thought she was a little crazy. We were like, okay, Ma, whatever. And on the way, she met Bob. My father passed in 1991 when I was 22. So she had been widowed for more than 25 years, never remarried, never had another partner. And she met Bob, and they fell in love and got married. And he said, Betty, we're not going to Costa Rica. And so the land sat there for a long, long time. And finally she said, listen, I don't want it. I don't want to worry about it. I don't want to pay the taxes on it. I don't want to deal with it. Will you accept it from me? And I was like, Ma, what am I going to do with 2.5 acres of land in the middle of Central America? And my husband, who is an avid surfer, was like, come on, honey, let's just accept it. We'll see what happens. I honestly thought we would just flip it. And because at the time we didn't have money to build a house here. But my husband's father passed away, and we inherited enough money to build a house. So in March of 2020, you remember what was going on in March of 2020?
Yes. Oh my God. Perfect timing though for you to be there.
Well, we weren't actually here. We had signed a contract with a builder, given him a $50,000 down payment, flew back to California, and they closed the doors to Costa Rica, and we could not get into the country for the entire year. So this house was built on WhatsApp. Every decision, I mean, we were like standing in our kitchen with a measuring tape, trying to convert everything, into the metric system that they use here.
Oh my
It
God.
was really a test of our relationship. And anyways, it was a huge blessing. We have an incredible, beautiful home here. And we rented it out for about a year and a half, Airbnb'd it. It was doing great. We were making bank. It was awesome. And then I went and made the mistake of facilitating a women's retreat here. And it was during that retreat that I just kept receiving these massive downloads, this massive knowingness that, honey, whether you like it or not, you're coming to live here. And believe me, there was not one logical brain cell in this personality, in this framework that would have opted in to an experience like this at all whatsoever. It was completely outside of who I knew myself to be. And we have actually lived here now for a year and a half, and we go back and forth to California quite a bit. And it has changed me. It has changed me. It has continued the transformation that I began back in 2013 when I enrolled myself in the master's program at the University of Santa Monica. And I just keep having ego death after ego death.
I love that story. I think my dog is trying to come in. Yes, she is. I just hear someone knocking at the door.
Right.
So that's amazing. It's really wonderful that you were able to be there and lead that retreat. My dream is to have a place, doesn't have to be in Costa Rica, but I love Costa Rica. Or in Mexico. That's another place that I really love, and I just feel really at home. My dream is to have my own oasis, definitely outside of New York. We have a beautiful oasis here on the lake, but I'm ready for something different too. I'm ready for that shift to really be living fully in alignment in nature, like embodying my work. So, that's amazing. And I would love
Well,
to
light
come
to
visit.
that, Tara. Light to that, and careful, right? From your lips to God's ears. You
Oh,
know
I'm
how it
safe.
works.
Absolutely. And we're just actually, my husband and I were talking, we're really just waiting for the right opportunity to present itself.
Yeah.
We've been to Costa Rica a bunch of times and we've been looking around and like what's feeling good. We're kind of at a transition right now because we've been in New York. I've been in New York my whole life. And we were living in Tulum, Mexico a lot during the winters. And now it's getting quite busy. And so we're kind of finding our next spot. And so we're always traveling with our eyes wide open, like what feels good?
Right.
Where
Have you
can
done
we?
astrocartography? Do some
No.
astrocartography. Oh my God. I highly recommend. This is a form of astrology that looks at the geography of all of your lines, all like where all of your planets were at the time of your birth. And it's so interesting for me because my sun, which is all about our purpose, it's about moving forward, it's about, you know, going straight ahead, is in California. And my moon goes right through Costa Rica, right? It's about the yin to the yang, it's the receiving, it's the slow down, it's the opening. And that is exactly the transformation that I have been through since moving here and living in harmony with
Mm.
nature, with Mother Earth, with an environment that cannot and will not be controlled or manipulated or managed in any way.
I love that. Yeah, that is so interesting you bring that up. And if you have someone that you recommend, please share the information
I
now, even on the
do.
podcast. And we can put it in the show notes because every time I do get a reading, they're always saying that you're very much influenced by your surroundings. And I'm even looking out at this beautiful lake right now, and it's so beautiful, but most of the year it's dead. Right. So
Right.
that energetically just doesn't fuel me and doesn't make me feel expansive. And then the window that I do have where everything is lush and green and I have my feet in the ground is 4 months.
Yeah.
And that is not enough for my nervous system to fully
Right.
drop in and open and receive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're really blessed. You're really blessed to have this. And I can't wait to come visit. So where exactly are you again in Costa Rica?
Oh, sorry. I never answered the question. So I'm in this little tiny village called Ojachal, and it's about an hour south of Dominical, which is a really popular surf spot, that a lot of
Yeah.
people know about. Panama is just a couple of hours further south from where I am. So really south.
That's wonderful, though. Yeah, that's beautiful. I just spent some time in Malpais. So that was really beautiful I think that's on the other side though, right?
Probably.
Yeah,
I'm
you're
not
on the,
familiar with it.
yeah, so it's on the other side. But okay, let's get into a little bit about you before moving to Costa Rica. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing prior to the work that you're doing now, and maybe just share a little bit about what led you to the work that you're sharing with the world.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I was a corporate marketing executive for 28 years in the industry of hospitality. At the time, I was working for the Ritz-Carlton and I turned 45. And when I turned 45, it was like this alarm bell went off inside my system that was hurry up and figure out what your life is about because it isn't about this. And it was a really significant age because that's how old my father was when he passed away. So it was this real, like, in your face reckoning of are you going to follow in the footsteps of your parent who was a workaholic, who really just was about hard work and sacrifice, was about proving himself and working through, not enoughness on every level of his life. And my dad was a, wonderful provider for our family. And he died very young from lung cancer. But I had this inner urgency, like I don't know how else to describe it, that it was driving me towards something else. And I had gone to a psychic that I had done, many, many times before in my life, crying to her, like, I have to find my purpose.
Yeah.
And she said, Donna, they're spelling it out for me. Spiritual psychology. I said, what in the hell is spiritual psychology? And she said there's 3 universities that have a program in this. And she gave me 2 of the 3, which were really far away from where I lived in Southern California. It just seemed like such a commitment based on the fact that I was working 60 hours a week as a corporate executive, right? In an environment where you don't come up for air, you don't go to lunch or go to the bathroom, let alone pursue a
Yeah.
master's degree, right? I came home and consulted the other oracle, and I Googled it. And I very quickly found my way to the University of Santa Monica, which offered a 2-year program at the time that was one weekend a month. And it was a big investment. And believe me, my ego and personality had 101,000 objections as to why I could not or would not or didn't want to invest, the time, the money, the commitment into my own, found my way to the University of Santa Monica and worked through my ego's 101,000 objections to all of the reasons why it did not make any logical sense for me to enroll myself in this program. Not the least of which was it wasn't something that was part of my life. It wasn't something that made any sense at all. As I'm working as a corporate executive, 60 plus hours a week, very invested, right? Time wise, emotionally, just all of my energy was going into my job, which I was very, very discontented with. I was so unhappy, but I didn't want to look at that. I didn't want to admit that to myself because on the surface, it all looked perfect, right? I had the big title and I had a great deal of success. I was consistently winning awards, making big bonus checks, right? Like on the surface, it all looked like what everybody dreams of. What was missing for me, which I could not have articulated for you at the time, was fulfillment. I
Yeah.
had this deep, deep void, this deep emptiness that I couldn't quite articulate. I couldn't really put my finger on. And I couldn't have told you then that I wasn't fulfilled. Like it didn't register in my consciousness at that time. It was through this master's program, which I went on to pursue the 3rd year. And then I got my coaching certification for the 4th year. And then I got my teaching facilitation in the 5th year. Like I just kept going on and on. But the program was a journey inward. It was a journey into my own heart and my own truth, my own gifts, the gifts that I had that were lying dormant inside of myself that were dying. And I do mean that literally, to be set free. And 1 year, so I ended up, after my 1st year of pursuing this master's program, I stepped down from my role, from my marketing role. Now, at the time, there was nothing in my consciousness that knew I would go on to be a coach, to have these beautiful, sacred, intimate, heart-opening conversations with women. If someone had told me that that's what I would be doing, I would have said, oh yeah, nope, never. That's not happening. Because I ran a division where I had 60 people that were underneath me. It was such a different, everything. It was a different everything. But I hung out a shingle as a marketing consultant because I had so much experience in the industry. People knew me. I had a great reputation. And it was really a wonderful way for me to slow down, to back off that 60 hours a week. It really ended up being a beautiful bridge into the work that I do today. And I was able to provide for myself financially. I was still able to earn a great income. And I was able to create all of this time and space to pursue consciousness, health, and healing portion of my master's in spiritual psychology. And I was really invited by the universe into coaching. So that's a little bit about how I got here to where I am today. And, that journey began in 2013. So it's been more than a decade now that I have been walking this path. And, as I shared, Costa Rica has had its way with me. And, I really live in this space of surrender and in this place of taking my cues from on high. And it hasn't gone wrong yet.
It never does when we slow down and we listen, right? When we just slow down and we listen rather than forcing. I can relate to so much of what you're saying because I'm just shy of 44 and I'll be 44 in about, August. So I completely understand. I had a completely different life prior to 2000. I would say 2010 started my real journey, but then I still was working in corporate and still pushing and pushing and living in Manhattan and working at Goldman Sachs and just trying to, like climb this corporate ladder. And it really was during COVID that brought me here into nature again. And that's where I realized that I really needed to go back to this business, Divine Lifestyles, that was given to me in 2008 when I lost my mother.
Mm,
It was given to me through a spiritual download.
yeah.
And I had done the business, but then, fear crept in. Things were really expensive in New York City. So you kind of are like, okay, let me work. I'll put this off to the side. And it really was that shift that happened in 2020. Same with you, like going to Costa Rica, where it was like the universe was like, no, 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 no. And I always love to say that, like, we are so hard headed and we always like to stray,
I'm
but
so hard-headed. Oh my
I'm
God.
so hard headed. But when you're like meant to do something and serve at a larger scale and create impact, I believe that spirit won't let you stray, it'll be just like keep knocking. And I also can really relate to what you said about feeling empty and not really understanding, like having accolades with a career, having this resume that was like, I was all ego, and I was thinking that this was the way. High heels, dinners, the whole thing, fancy dinners, running around. And I realized that I got really caught up in the identity
Mm,
of what I thought I should be, and I
yeah.
was not living at all authentically what was in alignment for my soul's blueprint. And that's the work that I share with people now. Like, I was just doing what I thought I was supposed to do because society said this is the way. Or, oh, you work at Goldman Sachs? Oh, like, meanwhile I was like, that was like the worst period of my life, you know but people had thought that there was this clout. So you kind of get tripped up thinking that, like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this is filling me some way. But then you have your heart and your spirit that's going, not it, not it. But you're like, wait, I'm seeing the fruits of my labor.
Mhm.
And then being stuck it takes a lot of courage.
It does. And I think it takes sort of a re-engineering of our value system. And I
Yes.
think we underestimate this piece, right? It's like because our value system has been impressed upon us through society, through culture, through, the American way, the American dream. And so we buy into this set of values and then we set off to align our life in accordance with them. And
Mhm.
until we don't, until we figure out that's not really the deal for me. And yes,
And
it takes a lot of courage.
I've got an exciting offer for all of my listeners: the free Divine Daily Practices video series. Get simple practices to release anxious thoughts, sharpen your intuition, and rewire your nervous system in less than 10 minutes a day. Come on over to my website at divinelifestyles.com/divine daily practices. And over the next week, you'll receive a complimentary self-care system to drop into your authentic self and activate your divine intuitive wisdom. I hope you enjoy. But I feel like more people are starting to really wake up and see that there is another way. There's like this amazing shift that's happening in the collective.
Yep.
And we're so lucky that we have the opportunity to be able to share our gifts in the way that we are. So I just wanted to just say, like, for someone who's just like seeing you and honoring you, and I just want to hold space to say, like, I'm like getting emotional. Like, it is such a hero's journey.
Yeah, it
And we're
is.
so lucky. But then there's days where it can be like, what the hell am I doing? Right. But that brings me to where I want to kind of dive in a little bit when you talk about recognizing your original wisdom,
Mm.
because I think that there's the days, like I said, where I am like 100% in flow with spirit. And I know, like, this is the way, this is the path, things are. And then there are the days where I have my doubts, right?
Yeah.
Where I'll hit up against a roadblock of sorts. So I kind of want you to tell me a little bit about your experience with that. And then I want to talk about your philosophy of original wisdom.
Yeah. Well, listen, as long as we're in these human bodies, we're going to have doubt. We're going to have, the valleys to counterbalance the peaks.
Mhm.
And, I'm just actually being shown an image right now that I'll draw out for your audience. It's like, we go up and we come down and we go up and we come down, but we're on this increasing trajectory. So it's like the up and downs go like this. And in my own experience, the way out is to not judge it. The way out is to be in it. The way
Yeah.
out is to be with it. And in spiritual psychology, one of the principles that we work with is how you relate to the issue is the issue. And how you relate to yourself when you're going through the issue is really the opportunity for your growth and learning. So I actually happen to be in a really big uh, bout of self doubt right now. And, years back, I would have been just relentless with myself. And, that inner critic, that inner perfectionist, that inner judge would have been saying, oh, you've done all this work and you've had all this growth, but you still don't have it like rock solid inside of you. What's the matter with you? And that's really painful. Whew, that is really painful because it's like judgment on the judgment, It's yeah, I see you, sister. Like,
Oh, I know that.
yeah. And, I think anyone who has committed themselves to a spiritual path, to a path of growth and evolution, comes to this because, as you know, it's not linear, right? It's a spiral, and we take these laps around the spiral and we get to that sticky spot, and it's like, oh, I'm still working with this thing. And the softer I can be with myself, the more gentle I can relate to the feelings of inadequacy or the feelings of not enoughness or the feelings of whatever story I've got going on. It's like, that's real. Those are real. Those are connected to real feelings that I am experiencing. And in that, I have a choice. I can ignore those feelings and I can pretend they don't exist and I can push them off to the side. But the truth is, they're in my field. They are in my energetic field, and then they are being broadcast, whether I'm aware of that or not, because I am unwilling to deal with them. I'm unwilling to go in there and look at those painful places and love myself through it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like the more we can bring that loving, to the pain, that's how it dissolves. That's how we move through it. So the best thing we can do is to be with ourselves when we're in those places that it's like, okay, I'm here today. I'm a little off. I'm going to just move myself into acceptance
Mm-hmm.
mentally and emotionally, and I'm going to just be with this knowing it's going to change, it's going to evolve, because we are dynamic, changing, evolving beings, and life is moving through us because we are
Mm-hmm.
part of life, right? So it's going to continue to change and grow. And, I know for myself in my own process right now, I feel like I'm on the precipice of like something else that I can't see, something else that I don't have a clear view or understanding of, but I sense it, I feel it, I know it. So it's like, this is the crud, the stuff, the
Yeah.
gunk that needs to come up and get moved out of the way to create that space, to anchor myself even more solidly, sovereignly in
Mm-hmm.
my original wisdom. And so we can't really define these things, but I've done my best job. And original wisdom is the inherent intelligence in all beings that is rooted in unconditional loving. So it's like, that's the place. That's the place that I want to live from. That's the place I want to be with, get
Mm-hmm.
to, right? And I don't know if any of your listeners are Course in Miracles students, but in the beginning of the Course in Miracles, right, it says, we don't aim to teach the meaning of love, for that is impossible. What we aim to do is to remove the blocks to the
I love
awareness of love's presence, right?
that. And that's also a Rumi quote, right? It's not about looking for love, but what is standing in the way from me receiving love.
Mm.
I mean, I butchered that a little bit, but you know what I mean. It's
Well,
much more
you made the
eloquent.
point. Yeah. So what I help women do is go in and be with that uncomfortable stuff that is in the way of their authentic presence, that is in the way of their true self, that is in the way of their divinity, really, their essence, this part of us that is untarnishable, this infinite part of us that is everlasting and brilliant on every level, right? And we are taught to put a lot of stock into our IQ, right? Goldman Sachs, right? We rely on our intellect and our intellectual intelligence. But in so doing, we completely overlook the fact that we have an emotional intelligence, that we have a physical intelligence that's giving us information 24/7, 365 that most of us are ignoring, and that we have a spiritual intelligence. And it is our spiritual intelligence, this essence, this intangible, everywhere present energy that holds the keys to our kingdom.
I love that.
We're trying to get to that. And that's even the wrong language to use, because you don't have to go anywhere to get to it. It's right here, right now. And it's just a matter of our awareness. It's a matter of our perception. And so we have to get off the ground floor where there's confusion and there's chaos, and our small problems seem huge and big because we're standing in the middle of it. We have to come up and be above it, to be able to have a completely different understanding of it. And in that understanding, suddenly things make sense in ways that they never could have made sense when we're standing on the ground, right? So, how do we go up? How do we get there? Well, it's not being caught in the duality, not being caught in the polarity. And, there's another Rumi quote that speaks to this: out beyond the ideas of right doing and wrong doing, there is a field. I will meet you there. So it's like this place of neutrality and equanimity where it's like, can I retract myself from the sides, from the right and the wrong, the good and the bad, the up and the down? Can I be in the center point of that and allow myself to have that 360-degree view of all of it? I like to say the most powerful person in the room is the person without a position.
Huh? I love that. It's true. That is so true. So eloquently said, too. So for people listening that are looking for some just like tangible, actionable tools, what would you suggest if they're trying to figure out their innate wisdom?
Yeah, well, I'm an avid meditator. And meditation actually saved my life because I had a prophetic dream about a fish hook all the way through my left breast. And that was alerting me of breast cancer that was growing in my chest. And I am so sure and positive that had it not been for my meditation practice, even if I had had the dream, I wouldn't have remembered the dream. And, you know, so many high performers, high achievers are dedicated and committed to a practice of slowing down, to a practice of getting quiet with themselves, a practice of opening to receive instead of constantly going and doing and striving and pushing and forcing, right? So I'm like, I sound a little bit like a broken record, but meditate, 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 meditate.
I know. I so agree. You know, I was into health, nutrition, biohacking, everything and anything under the sun, breath work. And it wasn't until about 3.5 years ago when I started really getting into a meditation practice when my world changed.
Mm.
And also chanting and working with like Kundalini yoga has just transformed my life. And it's all about that's what I was missing. I was kind of missing that piece, of just like being so devotional and getting into meditation and chanting and using your body to change your frequency. And it's literally transformed my life and my nervous system.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So you
Our
can,
original, oh, go ahead.
oh, I was going to say like exactly what you said. You have to sit quiet to hear, to
Mm,
listen. Everyone's always asked me like, how do you manifest? How do you, get intuitive thoughts? I'm like, you sit quietly, you breathe. It's very simple. You breathe in through your nose. I give them like the most simple exercises. Breathe in through your nose for 4, hold at the top for 7, exhale for 8. It's my go-to if I'm ever stressed. Do
right.
that 8 times. Whew, you're feeling amazing. And then you can sit quietly for 5 minutes,
Yeah.
put on some great, like comforting music, whatever it is, and just start slow, right? Rather than sitting down. And I share this for the audience because some people are like, oh, I don't have time to meditate. I'm like, you have time to spin your wheels about the same thing over and over and over again. You can take 7 minutes to just sit down, 2 minutes to breathe, 5 minutes to quiet your mind. Start there, then work your way up to 10 minutes, then 15 minutes, then 20 minutes. Soon enough, you'll be at 30 minutes. you know?
Yeah.
So,
You know, our relationship with our original wisdom is just that. It's a relationship. And because most of us are not taught, how do I relate to this energetic, intangible part of myself? That I think, even as an idea, right? Like, as a spiritual psychologist, this is not about religion in any way. Spirituality is about this relationship that we have with our inner being, our inner entity, if you want to look at it that way. So just bringing our awareness to the knowing that, wow, what would it be like if I paid attention to this intangible part of myself that I can't see it, I can't smell it, I can't taste it, but if I slow down enough, I can sense it. I can sense it. And, you know, so many of us, I'm sure you come across this all the time, so many of us are massive empaths, you know, the highly sensitive people, and they're picking up on so much other stuff that's hanging out in the collective, that's hanging out in the field. What if we begin to decipher what's really ours and what's not? And then we don't have to like pick up somebody else's crap and walk off with it on our back and like take it into our own life.
yes. You're preaching to the choir here.
Yeah.
And that is so important. And that is why I've studied epigenetics and ancestral healing, because I actually was a young girl at 27 who lost her mother tragically, who picked up, I literally was impartaking, all of that inherited emotional DNA that was not mine. And I had to learn. It was a tough road going into my 30s, but I had to learn, like, oh, this is not mine. Oh my goodness. And really started to open my eyes. And that was when my kind of, I like to say, when I was broke open, wasn't in 2008, where I started to really understand, oh, there is just so much more to this than I thought, not only on my spiritual journey, but what is all this stuff that I'm still carrying from generations and,
Yeah.
all the way up through my mother's lineage. And working very closely with that still to this day, having some fertility. I mean, I'm a little bit older, so just having a little bit of fertility struggles, but we're moving past that and we're coming into motherhood now. But really understanding where that was coming down my lineage and how that was affecting me.
Yeah.
Whew. And that's not just in the collective, that was just my immediate family.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, through the lens that I look through, these patterns that are inherited, if you want to look at it that way, right? It comes through us in so many different ways. Some of it is passed genetically, literally
Yeah.
through our DNA. The
Yeah.
patterns that are here, each one of us has a choice whether we're going to fall into that pattern and carry that on to our kids and their kids and their kids, or we're going to draw a line in the sand and say, I'm healing this right here, right now in my life. I choose to heal this. I choose to evolve this. And, you know, I really think that's what we're seeing as part of this mass transformation, global awakening that is happening all over the globe, is especially the younger people, right, are so like dialed into this, and they are just attuned to this. Like they come out of the womb attuned to this. Like, we're going to heal all this stuff so that we
Yeah.
can birth children that have a completely different set of DNA.
Yes. Oh, I know. And I even see this happening like with the starseed children that are coming in now. they don't want to have any of our drama. They don't want the past traumas. It's kind of like, it's interesting. I feel like it's like my soul came through going, okay, I'm ready for all the traumas. Like I'm a life path 4. Like I'm like, okay, give me everything so I can teach and like do this stuff.
Me too.
I've been here around a lot of times, like just give it to me good. And like, so I came in like that, a little hardcore. It's my personality. And I know that that's not what I'm bringing through.
Yeah.
And I
I
just
acknowledge you,
see
Tara.
it. I see it here. Like I see it so much. And I know that like this just needs to be healed and transmuted, the dense energy and transcended. And then boom, the next generation that's coming through. And I'm so honored to be able to be a vehicle in which these new starseed children can come through. And I do feel like my journey has been this way because I needed to just go through some more difficult lessons. And now I'm really seeing like, oh, okay. Because what's coming through is just ready to fly. And I feel like the children that are going to be coming through, not just me, but in the collective, are going to be really ready to they're going to know their purpose. It's not like you or I that it took us, into our adult years to kind of figure things out. It's like they're going to come through and be very dialed in. And they're just going to be like, boop. And we need to create the space and the platform for them to thrive and be able to reach their potential quicker. Yeah. So that's just the downloads that I've been getting a lot about my journey to motherhood. And it's like, just be patient, Like there's something coming. And when it's coming, it's going to be quite impactful. So just know that like, put your head down, do the work.
Right. Yeah. Bless all of us who are doing the work.
Yes. And the work never stops. And I say that for people who are listening, because a lot of women that, that I'm coming into my field, I tell them, I'm like, this is a lifestyle. This is why my company is called Divine Lifestyles. It's not a quick fix. I've been on an 18 and a half year journey thus far, and I'm just getting started. Like, I'm just getting started, really peeling back the layers of this onion that is so deep and dense. Yeah. And I find that, and this, the more that you go deeper, the more you realize there's so much more you need to uncover and unravel within yourself. And how we're all just students and teachers for each other. And so that's just one thing that I always love to like share with my audience. It's like, no one knows. I mean, yes, people have gone before you and have more life experiences, and then they can share, but no one is better than you or more healed than you or whatever that is. Like, that's not how this works. Well, yes, today has been so amazing. Thank you so much for being here with me. But
Thank you.
as we close out, I just wanted to ask you a few questions. What is the most insightful piece of advice you have ever received?
So I was I was trying to enroll myself at the University of Santa Monica. And, I'm this corporate marketing executive. I am like called to this program in a way that does not make any sense at all. It's totally illogical. And my ego had 101,000 excuses, 101,000 reasons why this didn't make sense. And believe me, this admissions counselor, God bless her, Veronica Alweiss, she handled my 101,000 objections. And then she said this. She said, Donna, why don't you just come for one weekend? And I was like, all right, I can do that. Like, I can come for one weekend. And Tara, that made all the difference. That made all the difference. And, we're so quick to like shut ourselves down and close ourselves off especially when it comes to new territory, when it comes to something that we've never done before, when it comes to getting out of our comfort zone. So I feel like that could be translated into, just take the one class or go to the one event or do the one thing or make the one call. And that's it. That's my golden advice nugget to everyone. And, I was speaking with a client yesterday and she was sharing a similar thing. Her husband is a pilot or he works on private aircraft, excuse me. And they were invited to this very high end event. And he came home and said, "Oh, the billionaire millionaire invited us to go to this party." And she was like, "We can't go to that. Like, we're not going to that. I have nothing to wear. Like, what will we even talk to those people about? Like, we can't communicate with them." And then she sat with it and she said, "I witnessed like my old stories, my old voice, those old programs, my old ways of being just take over the show, right?" And I know for me, when I was enrolling in that program, it was all of my old stuff. Well, thank God. I mean, thank God for me and thank God for every single person that I have ever had the opportunity to serve and uplift and invite to change their mind. So, yeah, why don't you just come for one weekend?
I love it. I love it. So, what do you have coming up? I know that you've got some great things brewing in your world and a retreat.
Yeah. So just come for one weekend. I
Perfect.
have a women's retreat coming up in October in Southern California, and it's called Loving Your Sweet Self. And it's about self love. And, I think we often confuse self love with self care. And we think that self love is taking ourselves to the spa for the day, but it isn't. Self love is making a commitment to ourselves and actually keeping it. Self love is having the courage to speak up and share that uncomfortable thing, even when it feels uncomfortable, right? So there's all of these different ways in which we can be in a deeper reverence, a deeper honoring of ourselves and our human journey and the walk that we each make as a spiritual being on this epic human adventure. So that is coming up in October. And, I have a self-guided online journey called Empower the Authentic You. And that's always available. And that is a really lovely, beautiful, easy way for somebody to walk themselves into this work and really receive an entirely new framework on how to do life. And it walks you through sort of unraveling the old framework that we might be so fixated with and towards. And it helps you gently and easily sort of begin to lay down these new stepping stones to a higher life, to a higher living, higher level of consciousness.
That's so beautiful. And I know you have a lot of amazing resources. So I want you to tell everyone where they can look online to find you. I think you have community, you have lots going on. So tell everyone where they can come check you out.
Yeah, donnabond.com. It's all there. I offer a monthly membership called Ignite Your Light. I show up once a month live. We have a soul gathering. And I really just take my orders from on high. I receive whatever message is coming through me at that time and share that with my community. But everything is on donnabond.com. And there are many complimentary classes, online classes, and learning. I have a pretty robust blog where you can find all kinds of teachings and information. So
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. Today was really special. And I'm
loved
so
being
glad.
with you.
Yes, I'm so honored to just have had this time together. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Divine Lifestyles Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you get your episodes. If you really loved this episode, screenshot it and share it on social media. It will help us to continue to make an impact. With gratitude and love always, keep illuminating your path.